What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to the channel. He's getting there, he's getting there. I've been making some engine mounts. This is the last little bit of them basically. Those tubes, all I've done is flatten them off, put a clearance hole for an M10 bolt, and then just with the drum sander sort of gone over, just take the edges off and stuff, give it a little bit of clearance for powder coat and all that sort of stuff, and they're just bolted onto the frame. They are drilled intentionally differently on both sides. So where the boss went into the frame, you know, one is kind of at that angle, one is a little bit steeper angle. And that's basically just so these are going to be handed. There'll be one for the left and one for the right, and you won't be able to put them in the wrong way round. And you won't be able to put them in the wrong side either. So it just means that, you know, anytime you put the engine in, you put these in on the right sides, and you can't get them the wrong way. It won't fit at all. It'll be massively out. It just means that the engine's going to line up every time. So with this one, all I've got to do is chomp the bottom off. I did offer it up. It needs to take about 10 mil off the bottom of it, because if I put this flat against the engine, I can just see the top of this clearance hole. So take 10 mil off the bottom, because that's a 10.5 mil hole, and we should basically be there, I think. I just want to make sure the engine is exactly where it needs to be before I go welding anything up. Otherwise I've got to chop it off again and do it all over again, which would suck. Right, there's a few different ways of getting your wheel in alignment. Right, first thing is, well, I wanted to shove the chain on anyway just to make sure I got the right length. We have. That's going to be peachy. I still haven't got the chain guard on at the front, and looking at the chain run, I'm probably going to make that notch on the bottom just a little bit taller, because he is too close for my liking, and it always tends to be the bottom run of the chain where you get a ripple if you've got a loose chain and you come off the throttle. So when all the frame comes out for its final welding, you know, I'm probably going to extend that, just because everything is a little bit different now you're fitting stuff on the bike. With a straight edge it looked okay. With a real chain on, I want to change it. It's only metal, it's easy enough. So anyway, a few different ways of getting your wheels in alignment. First and foremost is how it tells you in the manual. Just use the little hash marks. So where your axle goes through, there's little hash marks there on either side, and you set the block to the same hash mark, if that makes sense, and it should all line up, which on the whole tends to be quite happy and fine. However, I had a couple of bikes where we was racing where the hash marks was just a little bit off, and it was enough that you could feel it. So another way of doing it is you get I've got a couple of bits of alley box section with a threaded bar and like a hand nut, and the idea is that you clamp it either side of the back wheel with the, you know, the threaded bar between. You just wind it down, snug it down, and then you get your steering straight at the front, and where your wheel, if this is your alley, your wheel kind of dips down beneath it. So where it dips down beneath it, you measure the gap between the alley and the rim of the front wheel, sort of in the 4 points where the alley comes past it. It is more accurate, however, you are clamping it onto rubber, so, you know, there's a little bit of play there as well. And it is just a proper faff trying to get your front wheel absolutely dead straight so the gap is even in all 4 places that you're measuring it. And if it's off a little bit, you've got to move your steering and have another go, and it's just a right palaver, it really is. It does work, but it's not great. And then there's these things. Chain alignment tool, such a simple idea, they're brilliant. And I love these things to bits because they're so easy to use. But essentially it just clamps on around the sprocket. So this doesn't move, sort of twist that way or that way. You can move it up and down, as you can see, which is a handy thing. But it all snugs down. And it's just got this pointer on it. So the idea is that you adjust your axle blocks on either side until that pointer runs smack down the side of the chain. And the nice thing is that you can rotate the wheel and the pointer obviously comes up at an angle, so you can marry it along the entire length of that chain and just make sure that everything lines up, which this does. It is cock on. And looking at the hash marks, they ain't bad actually. Pretty much spot on, so we know we can trust them in future. But that's peachy. Right, they are brilliant little things actually. They're dirt cheap as well, just get it off eBay. Come in a range of colours. The only thing I would suggest, I have been keeping it in the top of the toolbox, which is starting to get a little bit full of other stuff, and the only thing I would say is you've got to keep that little pointy jobby thing straight. So I'm now taken to just shoving it out the way, and I'll just use it when I use it. As long as I remember it's there, that'll be fine. Still haven't found them, but I don't care anymore, I really don't care. I really like that when you get a chain, you get a split link and a rivet link, because the split link is brilliant for mock-up. I don't even bother putting the side plate on when I'm mocking stuff up, just because then it's easier to see where the thing is, and there's no point. So I need to get the chain off now, because I'm not welding anywhere near that. One bit of weld on that, one bit of spatter anywhere on that and the chain's buggered. So he's going to go back in the box until we need him again. I'll chop down these side plates, 10mm off that one, and we'll see what we're doing on the other side. We can get intact in place and properly welded up, and that's one less job. Then we can move on to the front. I have got a couple of bits of steel here, which I've already chopped down, but I need to do some machining to get these to fit for the front. So these are going to end up being my front engine mounts after a bit of machining. So that's going to be the next job. But it is now 25 to 1. I need to chip off to my work. So I'll be back. Right, I'm back. It is another day. You wouldn't know because I'm wearing the same stuff. And I've got bugger all done again this morning. I've had to come in and get a couple of orders out, which is lovely. It's the first in quite a long time. But if I do nothing, I'm getting these engine mounts welded up and sorted. So I've had 10mm off the bottom of this one, just bolted it down. These stupid little clips, where are they? These things. So you have a bolt that obviously goes through the bracket of the engine case, and you just got that on the end of it. It's really awkward getting it in there and getting the thread started. So anyway, he's on, so we're going to throw a couple of tacks. He's all bolted down. That's where he needs to live. There is a gap at the bottom, which is nice. And I get a nice fillet weld in the back. So I'll probably... Do I weld the whole thing? I could weld the whole thing now, couldn't I? Let it cool off, take it off and do the back bit. Let's do that. Right, whilst that's all cooling off, I found that. I was going to make some, I've got these blocks of steel. I was going to machine them out and make the front engine mounts, but I've been looking at it, and there is a much easier way to do it. Apart from that, machining steel and putting in really small inside radiuses is not the easiest thing, because you have to use a really small bit, and that's tough stuff. So I've been grubbing in the junk bin again, and I found this. So I've had a piece of it off. This is, how thick is it? It's the same thickness as the original one. Where are we? 5mm. And this is the original front mount, which is actually 4mm. So we're beefing things up a little bit, but I can't get it to fit. The engine's in the way. Let me show you. Right, I'm hoping you can see this. It is all just a little bit dark and dingy. So there's my bosses to mount my bracket to, and this is the mount on the engine that I've got to go to. Thing is, the gap in there, I mean, there is bugger all of it. Trying to get this in there ain't gonna happen. Sorry, you would go in there, but that's not gonna happen, not without cutting a hole in this, which I don't really want to do. I want to keep this solid. I could put a hole in it and kind of wiggle it in and get it into there, but then you're sort of taking strength of it out, and it would still be a complete faff to get this in. So the idea is that this piece of angle is going to go on like that, in essence, with these bosses on the inside face. The return will come out this way, and then it's going to go back to pick up on that hole. So essentially it will be kind of like that, along and then back again. And what I can do is to drill a hole in a piece of this, bolt it through there, couple of holes in this one to bolt it to there, marry the two up, and then just tack it and weld it, and I'll have a really good bracket. The only trouble is that is getting in the way. Now, these front engine mounts is different to all the others. All the others is just rounded over, whereas this has got that stupid corner on it. And it don't do anything. There is a little supporting rib here on the outside, but I would be looking to take that corner off down about, I don't know, 5mm. And if you look at where that rib is, it's like it's a mil high at that point. So I don't really think it's doing anything. Plus, this one is slightly different to that one, which is stupid. I want them to be even, because in my head they should be. So what I'm on about doing is rounding this over, keeping this curve going, and basically just losing this corner, because that way I could get the bracket in there. I wouldn't have to chomp any holes in it. It would all clear, and it would be a doddle to get in, because essentially you just slide it in there on the frame and then slide it up. But as you can see, it's not happening. I might have to shave these bosses down just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. So I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. I need to look into it. I need to read up on stuff. I'm sure there isn't going to be an issue having that corner off, because all the weight of the engine is going down, so the stress point is on the top, isn't it? And it doesn't do anything. Why is it there? That doesn't make any sense. Although I could be making this an awful lot harder for myself than I actually need to. The other option I've got is to bin off those bosses, just grind them down so it's all like a tube. I'll plug weld it and fill the thread, and then I'll just put a little tab on there. Because I could weld that straight to the frame. It wouldn't be a very big one, and I've got clearance all the way around the engine to still be able to get the engine out. So I might be doing that. The only thing is, I won't be doing it until the engine comes out. Oh, I don't know, I suppose I could. Maybe I'll do that. If there's one thing I'm guilty of in the past, it's just making things horribly complicated for myself. And you just don't need to. Both those mounts at the back come out. So I've got, you know, you can shove your fist in there, quite happy. I've got loads of room at the top, so the engine would be able to rock back, lift up, or even just lift it straight up. There's plenty of clearance. The breather on top of the engine goes between the frame spars at the top there. There's about 2.5 inches of clearance between the rocker cover, the valve cover hits the frame. You know, there's plenty of clearance. I just need to do it, don't I? Basically, is what I'm saying. And it could look quite cool from the front. Right, okay. Time is getting on, so I need to chip off, but with a hole for a 10mm bolt through the middle of it, that is basically what I'm making. 2 of them. Damn sight less convoluted than all this. I have been known to make things complicated for myself, and this is just so much simpler. So much simpler. So we're going to do this. The engine mounts at the back, I believe, are 5mm. We'll be going 5mm at the front as well. I will just check it. If they're 6, we'll just go 6. That's fine. The original ones at the front, they were just 4, so, you know, you'd think that 5 would be all right, wouldn't you? So I'll get these made up, then I can stick them on and tack them and weld them and dress them all in and everything else when the frame sort of comes off, and, you know, because the engine's out, and I can go to town on it then. As far as the bottom ones go, I'm just going to have them off, dress them all up, give them a squirt of primer and stick them back on. You really don't need to see that because it'll be boring as hell. But I'll get that done leading up to the weekend. And then I'm trying to think what the next jobs are going to be, actually. I mean, there's loads that needs doing. I need to come up with a way of mounting the tank, but I might leave that for a little bit because it depends what's happening with the airbox. So we might be starting on the seat. I've got steel, I could make the seat hump and then the seat pan and how to mount it and all the release mechanism and all that sort of stuff. Right, I think we're probably going to be doing the seat hump at the weekend, or at least having a stab at it and see what we come up with. That does mean dragging Sherman out from underneath his bench. He's been down there for months. I've got no idea what state he's in. All the anvils are in a bag full of oil. The big one is still mounted to the top of the thing. He was covered in oil, but I don't know, we might be cleaning that up before I get to use it because everything in here flash rusts. Everything. But anyway, so that's probably the plan for the weekend. We'll have a go at getting the seat hump done and mounted and just see how far we get, basically, because that will really start to give us the shape of the bike, which will be mid. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for this one. I need to take him with me. Thank you ever so much for watching. I do hope you're well and staying safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Laters.